Carla Calderon, co-host, yes. Okay, so we're now on YouTube, and then the text messages are currently sending now. I'll let you know when I receive it. You probably should get one as well. Okay. I believe I just got it.
Are you seeing the presentation, Emily?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just received the text message, so give it a few minutes, and then families will start coming in. And turn on my light. We're seeing your email.
You're seeing my email?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I gotta undo it then because I want to have it in front of me. Stop share. So that means I have to have you over here. And this over here. Okay, let's see. Share.
Hello, thank you for joining us. We are going to get started in just a bit. We're setting up our final tech. There we go, Carlo. We can see your screen now. Thank you. We're going to get started in just a minute or so, giving all of our families an opportunity to receive the text and then click just like you did now. So if you give us maybe just about a minute or so, we will get started. In case you're wondering, what is this? What am I here for? This is the family webinar that we have. We generally have them every week. And today's session is all about supporting our English learner students, our emerging bilinguals. And so we have two instructional specialists with us tonight who will, they'll introduce themselves in just a bit. And then they'll be talking to you about the different ways that students are supported in their mastery of the English language with the goal of getting them to reclassify. And then if you have any questions throughout, we'll address those. So again, it's 5:02. Give us just until about 5:03, and then we will get started. Okay, well, I see it as being 5:03, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us. My name is Alejandro Cisneros. I'm the coordinator of family engagement here for the Alvord Unified School District, and I'd like to invite our two guest presenters tonight to introduce themselves.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Carla Calderon, and I am an instructional specialist here at the English Language Support Services Department.
And I'm Kim Saliba. I am Carla's counterpart here. I'm an instructional specialist as well at the English Learner Support Services Department.
Thank you so much. And just so our families are fully aware, can you tell us what an instructional specialist does and how do you support? You don't support just one or two classrooms, you support the entire district. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yes, so as an instructional specialist, we support the entire district. We support TK all the way to 12th graders, and our area of focus is our English language acquisition. So all of our English language learners, we work with teachers, we provide professional development to for best practices for them to work in the classroom with students. We can come out and do demo lessons for our teachers. We might have some meetings to go over data and see, what is it that a certain school might need to focus on. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that we can support teachers, whether it's district-wide and offering PD or coming to their classrooms and working with them individually.
Yeah, and I wanted to make sure that you gave that context just so that our families know that when we tell you that we bring you the experts, this is who we have in the room with us now. So we want them to share with you all of the different ways, again, that your students are supported and challenged and kind of pushed along to make sure that they are making that progress towards mastering the English language. I do need to make sure that we say that si necesita esta información en español, nuestro campeón de la noche es Carlos García. Muchas gracias, Carlos, por estar con nosotros. Carlos, En la parte inferior de su pantalla verá varias cosas, las herramientas. Puede ver una esfera que dice Interpretation y ahí puede cambiar el idioma de inglés a español. Si no ve la esfera, tal vez está uniéndose a través de su teléfono, verá 3 puntos que dicen More o más y ahí puede buscar la herramienta, la opción de Interpretation y puede cambiar la información de inglés a español. And then right before we launch into the actual conversation in earnest, I want to make sure we say that we're just thankful that you're here. We know that we have a lot of experts and we do a lot of good things in the Albert Unified School District. It's amazing a number of programs that we have to make sure that our students are being pushed into excellence. But all of that falls short without the partnership of you, parents. So I just want to always continue to say on behalf of the Albert Unified School District Board of Education, our superintendent and our cabinet, thank you so much for being here. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Calderon and Ms. Saliba.
Awesome. Okay, so yes, thank you for being here, parents. Gracias, padres, por estar aquí. Voy a dar la presentación en inglés y el señor García va a traducirles, pero me da mucho gusto que estén aquí. And welcome again, and thank you for being here. So there is so much as Dr. Cisneros already mentioned. So this is going to be an overview because there is, we have an hour and there is so much that, one second, why is this not working? That our district provides and that we have at the different sites. So our agenda is going to be looking over what happens in the classroom, how can you support your children at home with their language learning journey, and then building connections and going over what's important, how is it important to connect so that we continue that journey. All right, so in Alvord, our students, the way that we support our students, all of our English language learners by law have to receive California state standards. So they have to learn the standards, right? So all of our learners, whether they're learning the second language or not, they get taught the California state standards, so Common Core. These are the standards that the state has designated for our students to learn. These are important things and skills that they are going to learn as they go through their school journey, right? Additionally to that, our English language learners have what's called designated and integrated ELD, and that they have to have it. They have to receive this in the classroom during the day. So we have a separate set of standards that focuses more on language acquisition, and teachers all are familiar with these standards, and they use these standards in conjunction with the English language arts standards to support language learning. Additionally, our teachers have an EL authorization, which means that through their teaching credential journey, when they were getting their teaching credential, they had some kind of course that taught them about specially designed academic instruction in English. And that's just like strategies to support our English language learners. So like right here, we have sentence frames, right? It's really important that they use vocabulary words, provide them with a model so that they can, when speaking or when writing, students can reference. So there are many, many different strategies that teachers use for to support English learning. And then additionally, for our students who are here, you know, are newly arrived, they're new to the language, we provide primary language support, and that is either through bilingual aid or through apps like Google Translate. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Basically, this is what is required for our English language learners. We have to provide all these things for them, okay? And then as a language learner, there is an expected progress that we have set for our students as they go through the years. From the beginning of when they're new to the language to when they get reclassified or become English proficient, right? So as you can see on the first year here, they're at the beginning level of language learning. Any standardized tests that the students take at that time, we are not expecting them to, they have to take it because we have to have a baseline to measure growth, but they're not expected to be at grade level, right? They're not going to be meeting those standards because they are new to the language and these exams are in English. You know, coming into the second year, the students might be still a 1 or a beginning, or they might move. We know students make progress at different levels, so they might move to the second level in the language proficiency, but they're still not going to be meeting, right, those standardized tests. So they'll progress through the years, right? And then somewhere around, you know, their 4th or 5th year, that's when we are looking for students meeting and doing better in those standardized assessments because they have more language to be able to use their skills and do better in the standardized assessments. Our hope for our students is that they reclassify somewhere between the 5th and 7th year. Again, our students move through this progression very differently. All our students are different. And so, but somewhere between the fifth and 7th year, our goal is for them to be reclassified. And at that point, they would be doing well in those standardized tests because now they are proficient in the language and they are able to, you know, do the reading comprehension fully in English, do the math assessments fully in English. And then once our students reclassify, they still go through a monitoring phase of 4 years. So for 4 years, we are looking at how they're doing in their grades, how they're doing in the local assessments that we have here in the district, to make sure that they don't fall behind or something happens. And if something does happen, then we provide additional support. So that's the monitoring process, and that happens twice a year after a student gets reclassified.
Ms. Calderon, I do have a question, please. We have a lot of family members who might have a student who isn't progressing at this pace. And I know you said everybody's kind of different, but for a English language learner who's been an English language learner and hasn't been able to reclassify for, you know, over 5, 6 years, we have a lot of high schoolers that have been through this program for a while. What sort of supports, what sort of resources can the parents reach out to?
So that monitoring that happens with our reclassified student happens with all of our language learners, right? All of our English language learners. So we just finished a phase where those students who are not getting at least a C in their, for, you know, usually these students are found in secondary, right? Because to be considered a long-term English learner, you have to have been a language learner, an EL student for longer than 6 years, right? And it usually happens by the 7th year that you get that tag on ARIES. That's our in-house monitoring system that we use for our students' data. So at that students in secondary get monitored, right? If they didn't do well on the assessment or they didn't get at least a C. We send a form to the teacher and then the teacher fills it out. And then they let us know, you know, the interventions that have been happening with the student. Is it, you know, that they're not understanding, they're not getting the assessments, they're not doing the work. Sometimes it's more the student not doing the work. Sometimes the student is getting their grades, but they have a 1 on the LPAC, right? And so then at that point, we start having conversations with the teachers about, well, does the student understand what this even is? Because sometimes students just, they've been taking this test every year since they were in kindergarten. And so they lose that, you know, that motivation to, they're like, oh, I keep getting this test every single time. And just having a conversation with the student about the importance and how, look, you're showing me in your other classes that you're getting A's and B's or C's and B's. And I know you have the skills. I know you can do this. I wanna reclassify you for you to get reclassified, right? So let's work on this. And so we have what are called ELFs or English language facilitators at the sites, and we work with the sites to identify those students that have been, not reclassified for, longer than 6 years. And Ms. Oliva and I will send out emails to the students, to the ELFs, and the ELFs will touch base with the teachers and remind them. And some of our schools have been having like boot camps for LPAC, for reclassification, right? Focusing on looking at how the tests functions and the types of questions, because there are different types of questions that sometimes the students are not exposed to. And the first time they take the test, like in February, our window opens, right? That's the first time they've seen it that whole year, right? So we're trying to work as a district to not make it such a mystery for the students. And then that ELF, or the English language facilitator, is like our connection to all the schools. They've also been doing a better job of reaching to the teachers and supporting them. In terms of who they can reach out to, they can always reach out to the school. I've had parents reach out to me, they've called me, and then I'll reach out to the ELF, and then we'll work on, okay, is there any tutoring that's available for the school? So it differs for every child, right? Because every student is different, and the reason that this one's not being reclassified may differ than this other one, right? So we need to work as a team, as a district with the school to figure out what it is, why that student is kind of stuck. Some of our students get what's called AALD, which is the Advanced Language Acquisition course that focuses on perhaps those gaps that the students have developed over the years. And we've had success with that as well. But always reaching out to the school is the best thing to do for parents. And then from there,
we received a comment in the chat that says it was mentioned that someone is assigned for the school. I've never met that person. That's correct. That as Ms. Calderon said, every school does have, it's a kind of a funny name. It's an ELF. It's an English language facilitator. Yeah, that's right. English language facilitator. And that person supports the administration, supports all of the teachers, and just making sure that this data is monitored, the students are monitored, and the professional development that's needed is brought to the school site. So Ms. Daisy, if you have a question about your particular school, like who is the school's English language facilitator, reach out to the principal, and then they'd be the ones that are almost like the liaison between the school and then the district office instructional specialist. So Daisy, I would say reach out to the school and say, hey, who's this ELF at the school, and how do I get in touch with them? That's a very good question. Thank you, Daisy.
Yeah, and if you attend the ELAC meetings, for the most part, the ELF is involved with ELAC somehow. There might be a few schools here and there where they don't, because they might have the meetings in the morning when the teacher, because the ELF is usually a teacher and they're teaching, right? So they're not able to have a lot to do with ELAC, but usually the ELF takes part in ELAC. So if you attend your ELAC meetings, hopefully you can meet him at those meetings. All right, so I talked about levels, and the levels for English language learners are the three on top right here. We have emerging, expanding, and bridging, because you're gonna hear us talk about that later on. So I just wanted to review them. So a newcomer, new to the language, first year, your student, and this is TK-12. When they're at the beginning stages of learning the language, they're going to be emerging. Then expanding that period, maybe second to fourth year. Again, it depends on the student, but this is where they tend to be there the longest in the expanding phase. And then bridging is when they're getting closer to grade level standards. Now, these are the levels that we use and the standards use, but these levels down here, I know there's 3 and then we have 4, so it can get a little confusing. These are the levels that the state gives out for the LPAC score. And if you have students that have been here for a while, you should have received some kind of report from the state or our school district that tells you, oh, your child, it's a level 2 in the last LPAC assessment. So it's good for you to kind of keep track of how they're moving along the levels throughout the years as they become more proficient in the language, right? Because again, if we see that, oh, my child is a level 1 and they've been here for 7 years, then we need to look at what's happening. Are they taking the test seriously? Is there something going on? Do we need to provide additional support? So it's just good to know. The emerging, expanding, and bridging from TK to 5, you will see this as a grade in the report card. So they'll have like listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and then it'll have listening, emerging, reading, expanding, writing, emerging. So they can be a bridging and listening and speaking, but they might be an expanding and reading and writing. And that's okay, because it'll be different when they acquire the different levels. So okay, so let's get into the classroom and how we talked about the standards. The teachers are guided by the standards, right? And so for kinder through 6, we have our standards, first of all, and then we have our curriculum, which is Wonders. And our Wonders curriculum, that's a good job of scaffolding or supporting the different levels of language learning, because we know that in a, 5th grade classroom, a teacher might have a newcomer student who's brand new to English, right? And they might have a couple who are bridging, or most of them might be bridging, and then some that are expanding, right? So she's gonna have all 3 levels on top of having English only students, right? Students who are monolingual. So the curriculum offers these scaffolds for the teacher to be able to have there on the spot. She can look quickly through this and offer a scaffold for the student for that particular lesson. So you see the vocabulary, you see how there's a lot of pictures, right? Because we use a lot of visuals so that our English learners can see what the teacher is referring to, right? So they can learn the vocabulary before they get into the text. So these scaffolds are found throughout the lessons for our English language arts in kinder through 6.
And in 7 through 12, we have what is called Study Sync. And a Study Sync is very much like a program that also has a lot of scaffolds within it. Definitely, as you can see here, it has a lot of pictures. And then there are different levels of scaffolds that are provided for the different language proficiency levels of the students. So say, for example, a student is a newcomer to our district, they might need more scaffolds than someone who's been here for 2 or 3 years. And this program allows for the teacher to go through and assign work that is at the different levels of the students in their English language proficiency.
We also offer in our district a dual language immersion program. And so the students are learning mainly in Spanish. And I just wanted to point out that it aligns to our mainstream program. So Maravillas would be the equivalent of Wonders. Galerías at the secondary, and that this is Spanish, but these students, the English language learners within these classes who are learning Spanish still have that designated ELD during the day at one point. Okay, so at the secondary level, they have a different class, and then K through 6, the teacher does have a 30-minute block where she focuses on English, but this is the curriculum that they use. So we talked at the beginning about students needing to have that English language development. And so one of it is called designated English language development. And this is a time where the student can develop English proficiency. And so they are focused, the teachers are focused on, there are 19 standards, and in the book, they are separated by grade level. But the part 2 of it focuses on that learning about how English works. So they really dig into taking, deconstructing sentences and looking at vocabulary and what does it mean, shapes of meaning, playing around with words and, you know, how would it sound if the adverb is before the verb, or, you know, they really dig into the language to really explore about how English works. So those are the standards that they use. Again, Wonders has a specific program separate from the English language arts. So with the English language arts and the scaffolds, that was integrated ELD. So those are integrated throughout the different subjects. Designated ELD is for K through 5 is a specific 30-minute period every day where the teacher goes into those standards. And it has lessons specific to language learning. They have a little book that's called My Language Book. Excuse me. And the teacher will pull those students, right, that are English language learners. The bridging students sometimes might be doing work with the English only students because they're more at a level that is on par with the English only counterparts. And then my emerging and expanding, I might have to pull a group and focus and do some focus lessons with them. Then maybe at the end of the week, I'll meet with my bridging and just check in with them, making sure that they're understanding whatever lesson I had them work on. And then the same thing for Study Sync. They have a designated ELD part. So they have their core ELA, and then there's another section. This is 6 through 12. However, 6, 7, and 8, this is the curriculum that they adopted. Right now, we're in the process of looking at curriculum for 9 through 12. And our ELD classes are also looking at curriculum for those classes, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. But designated ELD unit right there, it's specifically to that. And then look at here, emerging, expanding, whoops, and bridging. So there are lessons, as Ms. Oliva was mentioning, specific to the levels in the regular, right? Just you differentiate all the time as teachers, right? Mm-hmm. And for designated ELD is by the levels of their language needs. This is additionally to the regular, the ELA and then the ELD. So 30 minutes in elementary, 15 minutes for secondary students in the English language arts class is to focus on designated ELD. So these standards right here, right? But additionally to that, for students who have been here 3 years or less, they actually get a whole course in the secondary level. So if this is your first year here, new to the country, you're going to get ELD 1 and lab. So that's 2 whole periods where you can focus on acquiring and learning language, right? The teacher uses these standards. Did you want to add something?
I was just saying where you can where this is where we want them to acquire English language as rapidly as possible.
Yes.
And that's why we have the 2 periods, the ELD class and the lab that goes with it.
Yeah, so in the lab, you usually have some kind of program. It could be a computer program where the teacher is able to pull groups. So some students might be like working on the computer program, like they might get like 10 minutes to work on Rosetta Stone, let's say, right? And then the teacher can pull groups and rotate them so that she can have more of a smaller group lesson at the different levels, right? Because even in ELD 1, you're gonna have students at different levels, right? Not all our students are gonna be at the same level. Some, you know, will have a little bit of some kind of English background. Some might just be very good at languages and are able to pick the language really quickly. Some others might struggle. So even within that one class, you have to, like I said, we teachers are always differentiating, right? So first year, they get 2 blocks, 2 periods, right? To focus on the language because they still have math, they still have science, they still have history. So this hopefully helps them to then, when they go into those other classes, to have some kind of, you know, something to make a connection. And so 2 whole periods they get for that.
And then I think, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ms. Calderon. I think it's important to note for our parents here that the ELD1 in lab, the lab takes the place of what would otherwise be the student's elective. So a student who is in an ELD1 in a lab, at that point wouldn't be able to take a art or a band or any of the other cool electives that we have. So it's really important for our families and our students to understand the importance of not only mastering the English language so that you can, just access the content, but also progressing so that you can get into those different classes that really get our kids excited to come to school.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
And,
not all academic.
Also, so the ELD1 and lab this year, let's say I'm a newcomer, I have ELD1 and lab, and I have math, and I have science, right? Because I need that for graduation. I would not have a language class my first year. So I wouldn't have an English language arts because ELD1 and lab are acting like my English class at that time, right? So I wouldn't have that. So, but that doesn't happen the second year. So the second year, I have ELD2, and I would still have an English language arts class. So ELD2 again is to acquire that proficiency. And then my English language arts is to focus on just, the writing process and reading comprehension. Not that they don't do that in ELD2, but ELD2 is more of a language acquisition piece. And I'm going to have ELD2, have my full period of support with language acquisition. And then in my ELA class, I might still have those extra 15 minutes with my language arts teacher, right? So there are many opportunities for our students to be able to acquire that language. And then their third year, they would have ELD3. And then these classes, again, they're going over vocabulary. They're learning about grammar, the syntax, how our sentences form, morphology, prefixes and suffixes, plurals and, singular, the verb agreement with tenses. And so they really dig into how does the English language work. Okay, and then additionally, we have some other supports, right? So for primary language support, we might offer that through, as we mentioned at the very second slide, we have bilingual instructional assistance, or primary language support can be offered through materials, right? So because of our community and where the majority of our community is Spanish speaking, our bilingual instructional assistants are bilingual in Spanish, right? That's not the only language we have in our community, in our district. We have students from many different backgrounds. However, our bilingual instructional assistants don't speak those other languages, right? So that's why it says primary language support. We offer that through bilingual instructional assistants or through materials in the student's native language. So let's say that I have a student that's coming from Vietnam, and the history teacher is like, this student is really struggling. I need some additional support. Maybe we have the textbook in that student's language, in Vietnamese, right? And so we would try our best to do that. Or maybe we can get some PDFs from the internet that cover the same topic that they're teaching, right? So as long as that student is literate in their native language, so they're able to read their native language, then we can try our best to provide materials in their native language if it's other than Spanish. If it's Spanish, we also provide materials because a bilingual instructional assistant is not with them in every single class, right? We are limited with our bilingual instructional assistants, so they're not with the student in every single class. So for students who are new to the language, newcomers, right, we provide a Rosetta Stone account. This is grades 3rd and up, and this is depending on availability. We give priority to our high school students because they're able to they're able to read, first of all, for the materials in their native language, right? And Rosetta Stone account, just the format of the platform, it's more of, it's not it's very grammar oriented. So any students from like kinder, it wouldn't appeal to a kinder or a second grader. We've also had students who come from other parts of the world that speak a language that's not covered by Rosetta Stone. And so we have a contract now with Mango Languages, and we've been able to provide students with this. It's similar to Rosetta Stone, so it's a language learning app or platform that covers additional languages that Rosetta Stone does not cover. And then we have teacher created materials, and this is social studies content from kinder through 5th grade, but we offer it to students in high school because they can explore. It's really, they're books basically that cover social studies topics. So like they talk about the American Revolution and talking about, you know, the gold rush and things. So topics that would have been learned in history if you went through kinder through, you know, 5th grade in the United States. These are the different topics that are covered in social studies, right? Early explorers, American in the West, American Indians in the East, things like that. So they're books, and the app will read them to you if you click
In your language.
in English.
I'm sorry.
In English, yeah. So it's for the students to practice so if I'm a high school kid and I'm practicing, you know, English, this would be great to do at home, right? Like I can go into kinder content and practice it. See people of the planes.
Miss Calderon, we received a question in the chat. And I know that Ms. Saliba, thank you. It looks like you're already starting to address it, but I'd like to bring it up as a general conversation. Cristina asked, does the Rosetta Stone come free for the enrolled students? Can you talk about which students are eligible to receive?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, this is for newcomers, students brand new to the country. So they enrolled yesterday. Next week on Monday, it's going to be their first time ever in the United States school, right? So they don't speak any English. So when a student enrolls in our district, if there is a language survey, and if the parent writes that, like say they speak Chinese, you know, there's 4 questions about the home language, what the adults speak, what was the first language of the student. If those are filled out with a language other than English, then that student gets the LPAC initial assessment. And for that, they come to our office. So within 30 days of a student enrolling into our district, we actually try to do it within 2 weeks. They come to our office. When they come to our office, usually if Miss Rich Creek, who is our community worker, we'll touch base with the family to kind of go over some of the resources that we have in our district, and the Rosetta Stone account being one of them. Again, 3rd and up for students brand new to the country. Right. And so that gets taken care of here in our office. Depending again on availability, because we don't have unlimited licenses and we don't have unlimited tablets. So along with the Rosetta Stone account that we offer to the student does not have to pay for it. It's free for the student. The district pays for it. We offer a tablet as well, so that the student can, you know, use it. So we want them to, use it.
And then I also would like to just let our parents make our parents aware that through my office, through the Family Engagement Office, and I've put my direct cell phone number and my email, we have tablets available as well that are loaded with language software that we can lend to you for you, the parent. So Kim and Carla and Miss Rich Creek, they have all of the software for the students, but we know that if parents are better able to learn English, they're going to be better able to support their students in their schooling. So we've made a commitment. We've bought 50 iPads, and we don't have all 50 now because we're doing a really good job. We have our community worker, Alondra Sanchez, currently out of Twin Hill, who's doing a fantastic job of navigating that. But if you would like to borrow an iPad with language software, I'm not sure which one it is. I believe it might be Mango. you can reach out to me and we will get one out to you. Let's see here. Christina says, understood, awesome. How will we know when the limit access is filled? And if they have their own tablets, would there be a possibility to download the available software for our kids? So I think with that, Christina, you might mean Rosetta Stone. Would parents be able to download Rosetta Stone with our licensing to their personal devices?
I believe so because they get a link
Like a
to
code.
access that. So it's on the tablet. If the student gets an account, if we have availability and they meet the requirement of being a newcomer, correct? They get a link, and so you can go like on a desktop as well to do it. But usually the tablet, depending on the teacher, because the teacher is the one that would have to kind of help keep track of it. But I believe, so the point is we want them to practice, right? So they are
Okay.
able to take it home so that
Yeah.
they can use it at home. But yeah, that can be downloaded on a phone, on a desktop. I'm not sure about, I would assume Mango Languages is the same. You can do it on a desktop, but this one's newer to us, so
Yeah,
I will
right.
have to double check on that one.
And then just for Christina and everybody else here, I can tell you from a teacher's perspective, I was an ELD teacher and the lab instructor at Loma Vista Middle School. And the very first thing that my students would do when they would come in for the lab is we would sit and go on practice for Rosetta Stone for 15 minutes. So with Rosetta Stone, they see images, they match them with the text. They also hear the language, and it has a microphone attached to it so they can also speak. And so it's a really comprehensive program. And it was every single day we had them practice it. So it's a fantastic program that if they have the, as Ms. Calderon mentioned, the newcomers, and they're in the grades 3rd and above, just reach out to your teacher, your child's teacher to say, hey, I heard about this Rosetta Stone. Do we have it? And they can clarify for you.
Yeah. And just like we have our little elves at the site as contacts, we also have what are called point of access. And these, sometimes it's the elf who's the point of access, sometimes it's another teacher or the principal, but that person is the one that keeps track of the licenses that they have at the site. They kind of keep track if for whatever reason the student came and tested, or our office went and tested at the site and we never saw the family here in our office, then the point of contact will send us an email and say, hey, I have this student, they're brand new to the country. Can we set them up? Do they qualify for a Rosetta Stone account? And then we'll add them to the list. And then, so there's different ways. If you think your child qualifies for an account, reach out to the school, or you can we'll have our email information at the end. You can also email us and we can look into it as well. Okay, so we went over the classroom, right? And this one, anybody can go into it. The teacher created materials for the students in the social studies content. This is already linked there, so I'm not sure if Dr. Cisneros is going to share this. We'll make sure you guys have access to that, right?
Sure, I'll put this on our Parent Square.
Okay. And then, so now at home, what can you do to support your children learning at home? So there's a lot that we can do, right? First and foremost, we encourage you to use your native language as much as you can. And Ms. Oliva will go over some specific things.
Oh, is it my turn? Did you want me to go down this list, or
however you want to do it, or
okay.
I can do it if you like.
So earlier this year, myself and Carla, we presented at the parent conference that took place at La Sierra. And part of what I'm going to be sharing with you in the next couple of slides is that part of that presentation that we shared, and we went ahead and linked it here as well. But like Carla has placed on this slide, read as much as you can with your students, with your children, excuse me. students for me, children for you guys. Engage in conversation, play language games, sing songs, tell stories, watch educational shows. And please, 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 if you have questions, concerns, or just want to get involved with, more involved with your child's education, ask the teacher, communicate with the teacher, find out how you can best reach the teacher. Perhaps it's through Parent Square, perhaps it's through Class Dojo, perhaps it's through email. But definitely your child's teacher is going to be the main resource for you to get involved in their education. Next slide, please.
Thank you. I'm just gonna add that our students, our second language learner students, they come to us, let's say they start in kindergarten, right? They have their native language at home, whether it be Spanish, Vietnamese, Arabic, Chinese, whatever language they speak at home, right? They come to us. Then they start in kindergarten, they start to learn English, and we're all, yay, excited. They're learning English, they're learning to read, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. They're learning, they're doing great in school. Many of them by fourth grade will lose their native language, and they will no longer be bilingual. They will prefer to speak English. And yes, we want, that is the language of business, right here in our community. That is the language of school. That is the language of where we live. So we want them to learn English. But if they already have a second language, it from 0 to 5, they heard another language, right? We want to continue to build on that. We want our students, our kids, your children, our kids to be bilingual, because as Ms. Oliva will go over in just a little bit, being bilingual has
Open so
tons of
many doors.
benefits,
Yes.
tons of benefits, right? And it's just, it's sad that our students are losing whatever native language they come with. By fourth grade, and then sometimes it's, what's more sad is that if in the home, if the parents only speak that language and then the student only speaks English, then it becomes a barrier for communication between family members, right? So even forgetting the benefits of being bilingual, just being able to communicate, or even like sometimes with the grandparents, right? Like the grandchildren can't communicate with the grandparents because the grandparents only speak whatever native language they speak. And then the kids by fifth, they're in middle school, they have nothing to do with older family members who might only speak that other language. So we encourage you to speak, to hold conversations, to tell stories, all of that in your native language. Please keep your native language at home. Keep speaking it, whichever language you speak. Bilingualism is awesome. This is just a site that provides support and ideas on how to support home learning and how to keep, they give you ideas on language learning, right? And so like this particular one is help your child learn to read. And this is for younger kids, right? If you have little ones. So they go over and it's linked in here. So you can, just click on it and they'll take you to that. But then here it is in another language. These are all the languages that this PDF, you can find it in different, hopefully you can find the language that you speak at home in here. And sometimes, sites are limited in the amount. That's why we had to get Mango Languages, because Rosetta Stone only had, a certain amount of languages. So that's just a resource.
Yes, and then the following, like I said, we took from our presentation that we shared at the parent conference back in September. These are some resources, and they provide different apps that cater to a wide range of age groups and learning styles. And some of these apps they have paid versions, and some of them have free versions. So if you want more information about our presentation, it is there at the top, the link at the top, and it has a plethora of information on how being bilingual is a brain boost.
And this one's the English version. I do have a Spanish version. I will add it before Dr. Cisneros shares this on wherever he's gonna share it. He's gonna share it somewhere.
So like I said, these are different apps and they're all linked right here. I can't click on it, but Carla can. There's just a couple of different descriptions on what the app provides. So we talked about Duolingo, we talked about Rosetta Stone, and these are, like I said, the links are all provided here. You just, click on them and
So you click on the purple on the heading. It just takes you there.
yeah. And so Christina, I know you've been paying attention. Those are some of the resources that we've linked here for you to promote bilingualism in your household. And then some more tips for parents: read books in both languages, watch movies with subtitles, play learning games together, and attend cultural festivals so that students can maintain the family heritage at home. And then Carla's going to go over some other resources that we have here through Alvord.
So as we were saying, it's very important to continue just having conversation with your students in your native language, right? So we have these two through Alvord. There are also links, so you just click on them and it takes you there. So this one is, if your primary language is Spanish, you can go in here and, I don't know, look for a topic, and then you can maybe do like a little research project with your student, and you guys can do it in, animales extintos, animales legendarios. You can click on it, and sometimes it'll give you a video. So it's just kind of like, Británica Escolar. It's an encyclopedia. But it's for primary students. So it has little videos and images and things like that. And you guys can go in here and have that conversation, learn academic language, right? Learn more than just having a conversation. Having a conversation is great, but even taking it into academic language. And when you continue to have your students learn their native language, it'll get easier for them to transfer all they learn about in the native language to when they're learning about it in school in English, because then they'll have connections in their brain, right? That'll grab, oh yeah, mi mami y yo aprendimos de X, right? And they'll be able to and now it's easier for them to transfer that knowledge and just learn the language to speak about this in English. So I, many times, I'll come across a word in English, and the only reason I know what it means, as I was learning, I came here in 6th grade. So I started my language learning journey in 6th grade at McAuliffe. And I would hear a word and I would know what it is because I knew what it was in Spanish. Sometimes people around me, like my peers, right, the kids wouldn't know what that meant. But because that was like a familiar word in Spanish, sometimes it's vice versa. There's a word in English that it's not used in Spanish as much, but I'll know what it is because I've learned it in English. So we're able to make those transfers and those connections as bilingual people, right? We do that. So the more vocabulary you build with your students in the native language, the better time learning in English will be for them. So this is in Spanish, and then this is the same one. Welcome to Británica School in English. If you want to practice English with your child, right? Because that's also good. Like maybe you're learning English, right? And you can go into here and you can have your child teach you about a topic in English. And then we have National Geographic in Espanol, and then Nat Geo Kids. So just having those conversations about a topic, going beyond the yes or no answers from our kids, right? We know sometimes our kids just give one word answers, right? So really diving into a topic, exploring it, and having conversations.
These seem like they're great resources that you just shared with us for our families to help their students through even research projects, because researching is such a skill that is, it's really specific. And, you know, research involves more than just going on Google. And so I'm very thankful that you shared these resources that our students already have available to them to be able to do in-depth, good, high quality academic research for whatever project that they're on. So families, you don't need to pay for anything like LexisNexis or EBSCOhost or any of those paid subscriptions, because the district has made a commitment and pays that on your child's behalf. We have just about 5 more minutes. I wanted to see if any of our family members here with us have any additional questions, something that's just kind of lingering that you'd like to bring up and elevate.
I did want to say that I put the link into the presentation that Carla and I gave at the parent conference back in September. That link right there has the resources that we talked about, or that I mentioned earlier. But that the link for that is only in English. This link here is for the presentation only in English. Carla is going to send you the link for the presentation in Spanish as well. So if you can get that one out to parents tomorrow, that would be very great.
Yeah. Once we get into the office tomorrow, I'll connect with the both of you, and we'll get this sent out. Carla, Kim, thank you so much for spending an hour with our community today. Carla, I also didn't know that you are a former Alvord student. I know you're an Alvord graduate. That's fantastic. Sixth grade at McAuliffe Elementary School.
Arizona and La Sierra. Woo-woo, go Eagles.
All right. Go Eagles. That's right. And also, I think that's a testament to our district, just to see the product and the high caliber of talents that not only do we have as instructional leaders here in our district, but also product of our great schools. So Carla, thank you just for being who you are and what you do. Also, special shout outs to Cristina. Cristina is actually my cousin. So thank you for being here, Cristina.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's cool. It was nice to see that. Thank you, Kim, for being here. And as always, we can't ever do any of this work without our interpretation team. So today, very, very, very special shout out and thank you to Mr. Carlos Garcia, who made sure that our Spanish-speaking families also had access to our content. So families, as promised, we will send this out through Parent Square tomorrow. And then at your own leisure, you can go through the links. And then if you have any additional questions, phone numbers are there for Carla and Kim. And you guys know how to reach me too. Everybody have a good night. Thank you
so much.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Oh, and one more thing. Linda says, can we have the link for the YouTube channel? Yes, I'll put that into the Parent Square message again tomorrow when I send it. But it's just youtube.com/ if you look up Alvord Schools.org official or something like that, it's kind of weird. I'll get that over to you so that you can go